Hi everyone, this is the answer to our Fun Fact Friday challenge, which was what powerful human emotion happens in and around sometimes, when we're talking about, this ultimately started with talking about consistency of dog training. And the powerful emotion is hope. So you're giving the dog, Scarlett says, you need to give me a haircut. We're giving the dog hope that, and the hint word was maybe, right? That maybe this time they can not abide by the rules because the rules aren't set, if the rules aren't set in terms of like always or never. They think, well, maybe this time it won't matter. Maybe this time mom will tell me sit 5 times and then just kind of forget about it and I can go on about my way and I never have to sit. Or maybe this time I don't have to wait at the door, I can just go bolting out the door. So I wanted to make this point simply because as we start training, it's hard when you haven't been through the process. So you might start the training and then you see, like, let's just take the weight at the door and the dog wants to bolt through the door. And you maybe make progress in your training and then you go to do the next session and you can see the dog really wanting to bolt out the door. And it's easy for us as humans, very normal for us to be like, oh, this is all for naught. The dog isn't getting this. They're not understanding. And you maybe want to get frustrated or feel like something's not working. And this is just normal. Like as you're reshaping a behavior, even if you're doing it always at the door, if they had originally been allowed to just run out the door without needing permission, it's just going to take a while for the dog to understand, that there are new rules. And so don't be frustrated. And I think it helps us as again, the human side of this whole thing where, and again, I'm just picking on the behavior for the weight at the door. If you see the dog all balled up, ready to bolt, you can think to yourself, I'm watching you, I'm going to remind you, nope, not this time, because you know where the dog's coming from. They're just hoping that this time, maybe it doesn't matter and you're just going to let them run out the door without the permission. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And it is, like, as I looked at gave the example of counter surfing the last time, it makes it a very difficult behavior to break if they're getting a high reward in the sometimes. So like I said, like if they jump on your counter and find like a nice steak or something, then they might jump on your counter for the next 6 months because they're like, oh my gosh, was that like an enormous thing that I got? I got this really nice steak or these really good hamburgers or whatever they might have found up there. So one of the secrets is to never develop that behavior. Don't have something tasty on your counter if you have a dog that likes to hop up there and look around. So, and we do use that sometimes for behaviors that we do want. So if I'm trying to teach my dog how to stay or how to lengthen out their, like that heel command with a really focused, intense heel, I use the reward sometimes. Now, it doesn't mean that I do training sessions with no reward. It just means they don't know when the reward is coming. This is, there's a nice training term. Y'all going to learn a nice training term. It's called variable interval reward. And as you can guess, the interval reward means that a reward is coming at certain intervals. So let's say, like, for example, the stay, at first, you might be, I'm going to feed my dog on the sit stay every 2 seconds. 1001, 1002, give him a treat. 1001, 1002, you give him a treat. That's called interval reward, and that's predictable for the dog. When you go to variable interval reward, that's when the dog doesn't know. Is it coming in 2 seconds? Is it coming in 5 seconds? Is it coming in 35 seconds? And that's how you can kind of lengthen out the behavior by playing around with that variable interval reward. We are deliberately going to the sometimes because it gives the dog hope that maybe any second, and actually really the knowledge, because you're always using the reward in training, that they're like, maybe any minute the reward is coming. And so they maintain doing whatever it is that you've asked them to do. So fun fact around that. So we want to use that variable interval reward, which is the sometimes, for behaviors that we want really strong and that we want to reinforce. And we really don't want to be using sometimes around behaviors that we don't want, like don't jump on us, don't bolt out the door, don't pull on the leash. We want to make that kind of an always or a never kind of a thing. So it's very predictable for the dog and they're not thinking, well, maybe this time it won't matter. All right. Happy training.